Welcome, everybody. It's time once again for the next chapter with Charlie Hedges, as he explores turning the page on his life and yours.
Hi there, and welcome everyone to the next chapter with Charlie. I am recording this episode. I'm calling it a solosode because it's just going to be me. I have no guest, but the date that I'm recording this show is Tuesday, September 16, 2025, and that is my birthday. And today I am 76 years old. Now, what that means, at midnight last night, I officially completed 75 years. Now that's a very, very cool milestone. And I've got to tell you, I'm really fortunate because I can honestly say that every decade has been superior to the decade that preceded it. I've enjoyed that decade even more. And now as I'm doing this in my 70s, I'm thinking maybe that this is not a superior decade, but the learnings, the growth that is going on is still just so complete and so wonderful. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I was listening late last week, perhaps Friday, to Tim Ferriss, and he was asked a question. It was a question and answer show where he was responding to questions that had been sent to him by email, and he was asked a question something like, "What philosophy or what ideas have driven you this far in life? Have you ever pondered that?" Well, I have no recollection of how Tim responded or what was even going on with Tim's response. I just know that question made me think, what is it? What lessons, what philosophies, what precepts have brought me 75 years of contented life, and to a life that I would consider as a life worth living. So as I thought about it, I was writing down ideas of things that motivate me, move me, and have thought about it, and have implied certain conclusions. However, I was thinking there was an assessment tool I took several years ago. It's called, I pronounce it VIA. It's VIA, all in uppercase. VIA character assessment, character traits assessment, which turned out for me to be the finest character trait, the finest assessment tool I've ever taken. I got this, and when I received the results, it was just absolutely amazing. And I want to talk a bit about the results. Now, let me tell you a little bit before I tell you the results, let me tell you a bit about the VIA character assessment. It evaluates, it's a self-survey, 15, not long, it's surprisingly short, 15 to 30 minutes, something like that as I recall. And it evaluates 24 character traits. And of these character traits, it then ranks them, which is your top character trait, which is your 24th character trait. And then it goes in to explain, they put them in segments, and they do lots of research. It's really, I recommend the instrument. I know you can get it for free online, and VIA character trait assessment. And there's a paid version that I use that has incredible documentation that's with it. So what I want to tell you are my top 5 character traits, and as I have looked at those accurately defined what drives me in life. But I want to give you an idea before I tell you my 5 character traits. I want to tell you, just let me just briefly go over what the 24 character traits are so you have an idea of the breadth of the VIA assessment. So, appreciation of beauty, love, perspective, leadership, love of learning, zest, spirituality, judgment, social intelligence, and creativity. Those are the first 10 listed, not the top 10, but the first 10 listed. The next 10 are honesty, kindness, fairness, hope, prudence, gratitude, bravery, self regulation, forgiveness. And then the final ones are perseverance, humility, teamwork, humor, and curiosity. And then it just ranks, which ones of those are particular strengths in your life. And this is the assessment tool that nailed me. And I want to tell you, of the 24, people that know me would say that one of the character traits that I mentioned was teamwork, um, and one would think right away that's one of my character traits because I work with teams really well. Love working with teams. I'm an individual, but I work with teams. Well, on the VIA assessment, out of rankings of 24 based on what applies to me, teamwork was number 22, I think. It was second to last. So anyway, let's go on and let me get into kind of really what I wanted to talk about here. I've had a few minutes of explanation, but what I want to take a look at are my top five character traits from the VIA assessments, VIA character strengths assessment. And they are, and I will explain them in a bit, but they are love, spirituality, creativity, love of learning, and curiosity. Love, spirituality. What was the third one? I cannot remember the spirituality, creativity, love of learning. My hand is going blank, and curiosity. Whenever I tell those traits to people who know me well, they say, "My goodness, that's you. That defines who you are." So I took a look at those traits, and I was thinking, what is it about those traits that make me that drive me that sort of are impulses for the way I want to live my life. And in the remainder of our time, which my guess would be like another 20 minutes or so, I want to go through each one of those. And the first one, I combined love and kindness. That is what drives my life. Um, and kindness, I have written my legacy. I want my legacy to be one of kindness. And I've talked to my son about that and us leaving a legacy. And he says, "Damn, Dad, that's just, I would love to leave a legacy of kindness." And the beauty of the legacy of kindness is that people don't know that I had anything to do with it. So the kind person has nothing to do with the results of the kind act, because the kind act is what is remembered, and the remembering of the kind act encourages an individual to then pass on that kindness to other people. It's very cool. It's very cool. And so VIA explains love. As I said, I combine love and kindness, but they explain love as valuing close relationships with others, in particular those in which sharing and caring are reciprocated, being close to people. Um, it is so weird, y'all, because I am, you know me well or you know me barely. I'm an introvert, and I love spending my time alone. Doing a solo sode is not a bummer for me, um, because I love doing things by myself. but I am a people person. I am driven by my relationships with people, and I believe we are created to be in relationship. It was um, um, it's I'm going to talk about that in a bit, but Aristotle wrote once, the purpose of every human being is to contribute to the value of society. I think we do that with love and kindness. The second one is spirituality. And then I added, because it fits, it's transcendence, spirituality and transcendence. Now, please note, these are not biblical. It's not intended to be biblical. This is a research apart from any kind of biblical studies. And so their definition of spirituality and transcendence is this: having coherent beliefs about the higher purpose and meaning of the universe, knowing where one fits within the larger scheme, having beliefs about the meaning of life that shape and conduct and provide comfort. Um, I I love that. I am my my goal in life. My I'm one of those ones that used to say 40 years ago, my goal in life is to have a goal in life. That's very important to me. Um, Goals, direction, meaning, purpose are very important to me. I believe in the one of the arguments for deity is called the teleological argument, and that is the one where deity had some purpose, and that is what, and we are then integrated into that purpose, and and that is the meaning of life for me, and it fits right with the first one of love, and that is the creator that I believe in, because my higher power is God, and I'm very Trinitarian, and the power that I'm talking about, or the 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 spirituality and the transcendence and the purpose is all formed on the nature of God. And the nature of God is goodness and love. And when the goodness of the Father, well, we'd have to read Bonaventure to understand this, but the goodness of the Father brought into being the Son, and the love, and they created a love between them. It was unique and wonderful, and yet they were identical but separate. And they together formed a love that became the Holy Spirit. So the whole purpose of life is love. The whole purpose of life is to express the divinity within all of us, and that is the love of God. So that is that is the meaning of life that drives me. Now, I also, as an executive coach and partner in thought with CEOs of larger companies, we talk about down to earth purpose. What is the purpose of my company? What is my purpose in life? Those drive me just as well. So I'm thinking about that at 76 now. It's hard to say I'm 76 because it's just happened today. But at 76, I think about my purpose. I think I'm going to give myself another 10 years. I don't know. I'm healthy. I'm active. I've got what I've got, but I'm giving myself and my mind another 10 years. And I want to know what my purpose is. I want to die. I want to die like, what was the writer that wrote the book, Drunk in Las Vegas, Lost in Las Vegas. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't remember the name of the author, and everybody's going to be, how could you not remember the name of them? Which I can't remember. But he said, I don't want to die and be put into a casket looking good. looking dressed up and looking good. He says, I want to look used. I want to look worn out. And that is what the person of spirituality and transcendence and purpose has. They have a used up body because they're always creating something new and something exciting, which that leads to lesson 3. We've got love, we've got spirituality. And the next one that has driven me, and believe me, folks, this has driven me for forever, is creativity. And I never attributed myself to creativity because I'm not artistic. I mean, I can't draw stick figures. So I didn't think I was creative, and I played in college. I played with the guitar. I didn't play the guitar. I played with the guitar because that's what hippies do. They sing, they sit around and sing and and play the guitar and a whole bunch of other things. Um, but creativity, here's a way that Via describes it. Creativity is thinking of novel and productive ways to conceptualize and do things. It includes artistic achievement, but is not limited to it. And I think that's an important caveat there, that creativity includes artistic achievement, but is not limited to painting, theater, sculptor, all the other visual arts. There is a creativity that goes on every day in a new way. Every day I wake up in the morning, and it's got to be creative because now I don't have things to do. You know, it's like the retired guy gets what you want, you know, and you're wondering, what am I going to do with an empty calendar, having nothing on my list, and then feeling useless because I'm not out there in the world working. So how do you deal with those two issues as a retired person without having some degree of creativity? I wake up in the morning and I figure out, what am I going to do this day? And it may be not much at all, but it's something. You know, I have this show, I have a blog that I do, I work with a charity, so I have those kind of regular activities. But then I write, um, and I just do whatever comes to me. And I think that is that's really something, and that really is creativity. And don't, I am now, I've never rehearsed these 5 elements together, but I'm seeing the connectivity of how creativity is linked to love and spirituality and doing what works. What works is, bringing the purpose together. What works, and all 3 go together with that one. And that leads us to number 4, love of learning. Doesn't take a lot of explanation. Love of learning, mastering skills, mastering new skills, topics, and bodies of knowledge, whether on one's own or formally, related to the strength of curiosity, but goes beyond it to describe the tendency to add systematically to what one knows. Um, in other words, I have a voracious hunger to understand. And that makes me want to read more and more and more. Uh, I want to understand, not so much to know. I'm not looking to be right. In fact, I love reading and learning to discover I am wrong, that I've been thinking about this through a skewed perspective and I need to adjust my perspective. And I only get to do that through learning and and just reading, talking to people, My wife and I, when we find them, and they are so difficult to find, we love lecture tours, different places in town that will offer monthly lectures or bringing people in. We love to go to that. But then for me, learning, I learn from everything. I'm thinking how much in this last 6 weeks I've learned from theater, and that it is just it is, speaking biblically now, King James, I think. It has it's brought immense new learnings for me, thinking of things through filters I would never think of them for. So there's 4 of them: love, spirituality, creativity, love of learning, and the final one, and I'm saying I'm just shocked at how integrated all these are. The final one is curiosity. And I got to tell you, let me read here what VIA says. Taking an interest in ongoing experience for its own sake, finding subjects and topics fascinating, exploring, and discovering. Oh my goodness. I think I feel younger than 76 years old. I can't control how I look, but I can't control how I feel. And and I feel like I'm 20 years younger than 76. I have so much energy, so much desire to do things, yet at this to experience things. When I say do things, I'm using better verbs. I have so much desire to experience things. And all of that is based on curiosity. What if? I remember the first time, I deeply remember the first time my wife and I were in Italy. And for some reason, I want to say that was a decade ago. That was in 2014. It might not have been. But I recall I had just started posting in, so I've been doing blogs for over a decade. I had one of my early blogs. The title was How Italy Nearly Ruined My Life. And that was because Italy is just walking beauty. I mean, for a radical example, if you want to go to Rome, and we think all the museums you have to visit, all these different things you have to visit, all you have to do is walk the streets of downtown Rome. It is a museum. The streets of Rome are a museum, and it is for the curious person. And I am curious not only to experience those types of things, but I am curious intellectually. I am curious spiritually. I grow, my spiritual life grows because of my curiosity. I think my energy grows because I always want to know. I always want to learn. And so so to wrap it up, what did my wife give me for my birthday? We have tickets to a play tonight. Isn't that fun? Hey, thanks everybody for listening to the next chapter with Charlie, and for listening to my solosode on after 75 years, life still means something. I hope these principles are helpful. I hope there was something in here that was helpful, that encouraged you to live a life that is cool and vivacious. You've been listening to the next chapter with Charlie, and until next, this is Charlie Hedges signing off. Bye for now.